Hey there, this is Riley. I know it's been a bit since I've last recorded a video. I've had a lot of time to think, and sometimes when I go on walks, I basically just write down ideas. So today I want to share 19 lessons from a 19-year-old. I will also probably be talking about upload schedule later in the video, but for now, the first lesson that I've written down is don't count the days, make the days count. This is a lesson from Muhammad Ali, or is a quote from him at least. And basically the idea here is that everybody lives for the weekends, and if you're always living for the weekends, then the amount of time you get to enjoy is a lot shorter than it should be. And so the idea is, instead of counting every single day to the weekend, it is more about making the time that you do have matter, and making sure that you are actually managing your time to focus on things that are actually important to you. And so I'm not trying to say that we all have the same 24 hours. It's simply not true, because other people have responsibilities and some people just have more wealth where they can just outsource things. But in general, the idea is to make sure that you are doing things that matter. Second lesson I have here is that the universal currency for respect is effort. There's pretty much no time in my life where this rule didn't apply. The majority of people respect effort. So people admire when you're giving 100% in everything you do. Whether this be in your work or in your relationships, people admire that, and they take notice of when you're trying, but they also take notice of when you are not trying and when you don't care. So make sure that you care, because people take notice a lot more than you think. Third one here I have is saying no to something is also saying yes to something else, and vice versa. So this is from a book called Essentialism by Greg McKeown. Basically, the idea here is that by saying no to some things that you don't value, you're saying yes to the things that are truly important in your life. And if you say yes to everything, then eventually what happens is that your values do not matter anymore. And the more you negotiate with your values, often you'll find that you'll not have any time for the things that you think are important. And when you negotiate with your values, you essentially also do not value your own words. So basically, make sure you don't negotiate with your values, because they are the most important thing. Number 4, if nothing matters, then you choose what does. So unless you're religious like myself, then most people think that after death, nothing truly matters. So the idea here is that if nothing matters after death, then you get to choose what does. And that means that you aren't afraid of judgment, and you will do the things that you actually value yourself, instead of doing things that other people tell you to do. Number 5 is always ask questions and look like a fool for 1 minute, or look like a fool for eternity. I think this really got acknowledged to me when I was in grade 11 in a science class. I was always afraid of asking stupid questions, and always asking questions often, because I felt like I was annoying people. But I soon figured out that even if you ask a lot of dumb questions, it doesn't really matter, because in that moment you'll look like a fool for a couple seconds, but that is okay, because instead you're not looking like a fool for eternity, and you will learn something now that will change your perspective about life for the future, and so you won't act the same way and make the same mistakes. Rule number 6 is also from Essentialism, which is buffer time. I pretty much always use buffer time, and essentially what buffer time is you always give 50% more of a buffer time whenever you're trying to do something. So for example, if you think a task takes only an hour to complete, you will give yourself an hour and 30 minutes to complete said task, just because humans are really bad at estimating time. So I did this a lot in school again, where I would often tell people that I will do something in an hour and 30 minutes because I just want to give myself a buffer time of 50%. And sometimes I would actually just tell people that, like, hey, I think it'll take this long, but just give me 50% more of that time just in case I'm wrong. And even if you just do the buffer time regularly and you take the hour that you said you were going to complete it in, then great, you've exceeded expectations. And if not, then you still have that buffer time that you can complete that task within. Number 7 is the hardest for me, at least, but is basically think about things as an I get to instead of an I have to. This is one of my most difficult things to deal with because I often think that I have to, so I should do it well. But most things in life are an I get to. Most things that you come across in life will be an opportunity, and so you get to choose how you will handle this opportunity and how you should essentially put in effort because you get to do this today. Number 8 is the one that people are probably going to disagree with me, but I think all pain is self-inflicted. Many people disagree with me on this one because, for example, they'll go to an extreme where maybe people are born poor or they'll have like cancer or something else, right? But in general, we choose the problems and not the rewards. And that is also another lesson here, was we choose problems, not rewards. And basically what I'm trying to say is that, for example, with a career, you will choose not the rewards from the careers, because lots of careers can make you a lot of money, but you'll choose what problems you want to solve in your daily life. And by choosing to live every day, you choose that self-inflicted pain because you know it is better to live that experience than to not. Because, for example, if we say that nothing matters after death, you wouldn't just want to not live life, or maybe some of you won't, but in general, I would want to live life because of that experience. That even though it's going to be self-inflicted pain to experience life and emotions and loss and grief and all this other type of stuff, it is still worth the experience of living because of all the joyous and good moments in my life. Number 9 is something that people also disagree with me a lot. Every time I've mentioned this, people instantly disagree with me. So the idea, or at least my mindset, is that I deserve nothing. And you have to understand that this is from a positive point of view. It's that when you get rewards or a good opportunity or a gift, then things seem to be a lot better and you seem to appreciate those things a lot more. That's where I'm coming from. I'm not saying not to know your own self-worth. It's important to know your own self-worth and to not just say yes to everything, but to be intentional as well. But it's also about not expecting things from others and giving this work and sharing these learning experiences in the fact that you'll expect nothing back and that you'll just do it because of the labor of your love. My next lesson here is that retirement is flawed. And I got this from the 4-Hour Work Week. And the 3 reasons for this is that, number 1, your money isn't going to be worth that much when you're old anyway. Number 2, you'll be too crippled and old and ill and whatnot to enjoy that money. And number three, this is considering that you are using the prime years of your life to work at a job that you don't like, so you may eventually retire with little money. So I think it's more just about living a good life and enjoying your career, because at the end of the day, you're probably not going to enjoy much when you're very old and you can't really do so. My next one here is that when you die, most people, at least the majority, leave genetic lineage. Very few people will leave wisdom, will leave contributions to things like science and writing and stuff like that. But for the majority of us, we leave behind our genetic lineage in our children. We also will leave behind our financial habits and our parenting styles, because often our children will inherit those. So my point here is to be conscientious about being a parent, and that if you so choose to do that eventually in the future, which hopefully I plan to, which would be good to the point where I am essentially teaching which will be my offspring or my children to be the best versions of themselves as well, and to help them be decent human beings. Another one here is that I think that the universal currency for love is attention, at least in a fulfillment sort of aspect, where you will endure a lot of suffering, maybe not because it is pleasurable, but because you're fulfilled by attending something. We'll often go through a lot in relationships because we find a relationship fulfilling, and we will put a lot of attention and care towards that. So by attending to something, you will often be loving it, and sometimes you won't be. Sometimes you're not going to love things that you have attended, but it's important to make sure that whatever your attention is going towards it, you should be loving that thing. Number 14, forgiving and forgetting gives peace. One of my main goals in life, and which is also a main goal of a lot of people, is peace of mind. Forgiveness is one of those things that will essentially grant you peace, because by forgetting the wrong that people have done to you, then you don't hold in that anger and you can just let that go. And often a lot of our motives in life are to have peace of mind. We work for money so we have financial security. We work in a job that maybe we don't exactly like because we think that it is stable and it gives us peace of mind. So a lot of our goals are related to peace of mind. The next here is that happiness isn't the goal. I talked about this in one of my earlier episodes, I think, where basically the goal is to be fulfilled and to have meaning and be a competent individual. And when you live a life that is meaningful, happiness becomes a byproduct. Instead of chasing happiness, when you chase happiness, you aren't left with a lot. You're left with short-term happiness, which is basically just a dopamine rush. And it never really provides that long internal peace and that actual fulfillment that you desire. So instead, look at long-term happiness rather than short-term happiness. That's what I'm trying to say. People are like dirt. They'll either nourish you or they will make you wilt. And this is also related to that quote that you are the sum of the 5 closest people towards you. and that is because you will often pick up on their good and bad habits. One thing I will say about this is that don't just cut people off entirely. This was one of my mistakes, at least, where I just stopped talking to a lot of people, and number one, it's left me a little bit lonely sometimes, but number two, you should have these acquaintances just for the sake of being friendly and being nice to people. And who knows, maybe down the line you'll get opportunities from them, and maybe you will become better friends in the future. You never know, right? So don't cut people off, but also be intentional about who you spend your time with. This next lesson is from a book called The Magic of Thinking Big. And the quote goes, "Those who believe that they can move mountains can, and those who believe they cannot, cannot." And the idea here is that with belief, you are actually able to do substantial things. And without the belief that you can do that, you often have doubt and fear. And in my life, at least, that has led to a lot of inaction, where belief enables me to do things that I didn't think I was able to do. This next one is that silence is the best answer to people who do not value your words. Some people speak for the sake of talking, and the intention here is to be speaking because you have something important to say. And so the idea here is to think about your words and to be intentional about what you say instead of just saying things. And if people do not value your words, then just don't speak. Sometimes it's a better answer than making a situation worse. My last one here is also from a previous video. It's called Play the Cards You're Dealt. Some people are born luckier than others and are born in better circumstances than others, but at the end of the day, you're going to do the same thing, which is trying to be the best version of yourself possible. And by doing that, you'll notice that you will become luckier, at least in quotation marks, luckier, by trying your best. That's all the lessons I have, but I do just want to take a minute about the upload schedule. So as you can tell, I haven't been uploading recently. I've been doing a lot. I have bought some more aquariums. So a lot of people don't know that I breed fish, and that's my intention when I grow up, at least, is to be a fish wholesaler. So I bought 14 25-gallon aquariums and 4 40-gallon aquariums. I'm not setting those up yet, but I had a pet store close in town, and so I've been kind of just buying a bunch of their stuff and whatnot. And I've been also just maintaining my own tanks and whatnot. I've been trying to get rid of some of the fish that I'm not looking to breed, and I've been trying to get new fish on to breed, and I've been breeding egg layers and all that stuff. But the main point here is that I've been doing that, so that's one of the things I've been taking my time up, is hopefully this future business. And that the other thing is that I'm going to be going back to school in September. So on the 5th of September, I will be going back to school. I'm going for a business administration and accounting diploma. First, I have to get a certificate for that, and then I have to do the diploma, so that'll take 3 years. But at this point in time, I cannot guarantee any uploads. But if I do have things that are, I think, at least important to say, or that will provide value to your life, then I will make an upload like this. I don't want to be posting every week, which I used to do in the past for the sake of posting. I don't think that is living an intentional life. I think that's just speaking for the sake of talking, instead of speaking because I have something important to say. But at the same time, I also want to share things that will provide value. So If I do have things that are valuable, then I'll share. Anyway, I want to wish you good luck with your self-improvement journey, and peace out. Bye.